Sharon, wow. With a leap of faith, we can make it. Anytime, any place, anywhere. For we know that God within is always here, helping us make that leap of faith. Beautiful, beautiful. And you two wrote that song, didn't you? So, again, you've done my talk in a 4-minute song, which is awesome. But I just want to, I want to make mention that we have an incredible, incredible music team here. Thank you, Janice and David and Sharon and D-Ray and Robert. Thank you. I mean, we come to expect this as the norm. We do, because every week it's just phenomenal. And we have musicians that are inspired to look at the talk title when they're doing the special music and allow Spirit to move through them and bring forth the message in music. This is phenomenal. I just want to wake us up to how phenomenal our music team is. Because you go to other churches and some of them have phenomenal and some of them don't. But we're one of the ones that has phenomenal. So let's applaud our music team. And I loved Affirmation Rock. I'm right up front, so the energy just grabbed me and lifted me right off the seat in an instant, And then as I was standing here dancing and clapping and singing with you, I could see the energy floating back. And little by little, people started to stand and couldn't help it. And it got this side really good for some reason. And then all of a sudden, there was a leap. And that side over there started standing up. And then I'm watching, I'm like, okay, even you that are still sitting, you're starting to in your seat. You want to get up. I know you do, but you're like, not quite there yet. But that's okay. It's okay. Be where you're comfortable. When you're ready to take that leap of faith and stand and really feel it and own it, you will. You can feel it and own it in your seat, but you feel it and own it stronger when you stand up and you really get into the energy. So thank you for that. That was just a gift for me this morning. Faith. Faith is like the bluebird that sings to the dawn while it is still dark. Faith is like the bluebird that sings to the dawn while it is still dark. Namaste. Namaste. The divine in me honors and greets the divine in you. Namaste. I invite you to turn to your neighbor and say namaste. So what is a leap of faith? What's a leap of faith? Webster says that a leap is to spring forth from one place to another. You spring forth. You leap, okay? And faith is believing without proof. Okay? Faith is believing without the evidence or proof. So we're talking today about a leap of faith. And leaps of faith require courage. Because if you think back in your life to times where you've taken a leap of faith, and they could be little leaps, it could be big leaps. Anybody have an idea in mind of a time where they took a leap of faith? Yeah. So often what happens when we're looking at this place of taking a leap of faith, fear will jump up. Yeah. And be like, and all the doubts and all the worries and all the concerns will pop up and try and deter us from taking that leap of faith. So that's where the courage comes in. We develop our faith muscle, and as we develop our faith muscle, it gives us courage to move past those self-limiting, those doubt thoughts that come up. We have enough strength to move past that, not let it push us back, but to leap through it to the other side. And how do we develop our faith muscle? We develop it through prayer and meditation, through making that connection with God, that close connection, so that we know, like in the song, that God is always here, always ready to support us, anytime, any place, anywhere, to take that leap of faith, to step up higher, to claim that dream, whatever it is that is calling in you to step forward, to step higher. There's a part of you that knows already what that is, what that dream is, whatever it is that's calling you. If it's a new job or a new house or a new relationship, that part in you that's calling you to come forward. Do you have a strong enough faith to get past the resistance of doubt and fear and take that leap of faith? You know, last week I flew to Los Angeles to attend Mary Morrissey's Dream Builder Live event. It was amazing. It was amazing. But I did this by myself. I went alone. You know, would have loved for Patrick to come with me, but he doesn't like to travel, and he especially doesn't travel on planes. So I was like, I'm being called to do this, so I'm going. And I went, and it used to be, years ago, it used to be a leap of faith for me to travel somewhere on my own. There was a lot of fear and a lot of doubt and a lot of anxiety, and I'm like, I'm doing this all on my own? You know? And it took moving through that fear, stepping out in faith and doing it, and recognizing, hey, I can survive traveling on my own, you know? I know how to get to the airport. I know how to get on a plane. I know how to rent a car when I get there and read a map to get where I'm going. It's not rocket science. It's really pretty easy. The hard part was getting past the fear and the self-doubt and the worry and the concern. I'm doing this on my own. I don't have anybody to lean on. And when I get quiet and still, and I remember the truth of who I am, and that God is always with me, anytime, any place, anywhere, ready to help me make that leap of faith, with that strength and that courage, that strength of faith and courage, I'm able to leap through that resistance and do what is mine to do. I was being called to attend this event, and I am so glad that I went. It was amazing. Amazing. Mary invited us to stretch and to grow, to really get outside of our comfort zone. And we had probably about 800 people in this huge space on the first day. The second day, there was about maybe 700 people. And on the third day, there was like 650 people. And the room, you know, the size kept getting smaller. And I ended up buddying up with a woman, and we did, you know, one-on-one exercises and stuff. And she told me that this was the third time she had attended a Dream Builder Live event. I was like, oh, really? Wow, okay. And she said, well, I have to tell you, the first time I came, I left after the first day and didn't come back. Like, what? You know, this is a $1,500 event that you pay for. You leave, you don't get your money back, you know. So I'm thinking dollars, but as she explains it to me, I'm just thinking, hey, I've invested the money, I'm getting my money worth, you know. So she explains to me that she was so uncomfortable with the little bit of stretching that we did on the first day that she couldn't come back. She couldn't combat that fear She wanted to come back, but she couldn't combat the fear. She didn't have a strong enough faith built up yet in herself. And so the event came around again the next year, and she signed up. And she made it 2 days. And then she left. Well, that's it. I can't take anymore. I'm retreating. This is enough. And this was her 3rd time at the event. And she said, and it's day 3. And I'm still here. And I'm so excited. You know, and I applauded her because it took courage for her to keep coming back. And she said, and guess what? I'm like, what? She says, I'm starting to understand what Mary's saying. It's starting to click with me and I'm getting it. And I said, you are building that faith muscle and it's easier now, isn't it? And she said, yes. And I applauded her for that. I thought, what courage, what strength to keep going, to keep at it, to not give up. It was an amazing event and I'm really, really glad that I went. And I got to see our friend, Reverend Felicia Searcy there. She is Mary's right-hand person, and she was busy most of the time, but I snuck in time to give her hugs and say hello, and I got a quick picture with her. But it was awesome. It was awesome to be there and see her. So there's a quote that says, fear knocked on the door. I had faith answer. And no one was there. Fear knocked on the door. I had faith answer. And no one was there. About building our faith muscle so it can stop deterring us from those things that we want to do. And even if you're scared, I mean, that's what courage is. Courage is stepping out, feeling that fear, and stepping out and doing it anyway. And as we learn and we grow and we develop a stronger faith muscle, I mean, I traveled to Italy on my own. I mean, I went with a group, but I was on my own. You know, I traveled last month to Alabama on my own and drove 2.5 miles to get to the retreat center. And what? Hours, sorry, 2.5 hours to get to the retreat center. And I went to Los Angeles on my own. You know, I barely blink at that anymore. You know, it's not a fear for me anymore. It's just like, okay, boom, I'm supposed to go. You know, book the flight, let's do it. So it's about building that faith muscle. Build it. And pretty soon, those things that used to be so scary for you, that used to get you, you know, shaking in your boots, all of a sudden, you walk through that fear. And I like to say, you know, what's the opposite of fear? Faith. Walking in faith. Knowing that you don't walk alone. Knowing that God is present. Our first principle is there is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life. God the good. So if there's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, what is there to be afraid of? What is there to be afraid of? So I use that first principle a lot when I start to feel fear come up in me. Because I still get fearful. I still am stretching and growing and being asked to step out of my comfort zone. And I'll tell you that a lot of times the stretching and growing I'm being asked to do, sometimes it doesn't make logical sense. My logic says, no, you know, that's not, no, you don't do that. But my inner knowing, the faith in me, the connection I have with God, knows this is the leap to take. This is where I'm supposed to go. And so I use that affirmation of the first principle. There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good. What do I have to be afraid of? Take that leap of faith. Even if my boots are shaking, I'm taking that leap of faith. But every time I do, it gets easier. I shake less, and I build that face muscle stronger. Yeah. So I'm wondering, what is it in you that's calling you to take a leap of faith? What is it in you that's causing you to stretch, to expand, get outside of your comfort zone and grow? And connected with that, are you feeling the fear? And it's okay to have that fear, but transform it into faith and step through it. Take that leap. Spring forth. Charles Fillmore says that faith is the perceiving power of the mind. Faith is one of our 12 powers, one of our 12 faculties of mind. He says, faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. Faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. What's the power to shape substance? Anybody? The power of imagination. Imagination shapes substance. Faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. Imagination. I want you to think about the Wright brothers, okay? The Wright brothers caught this divine idea of air flight, and they leaped with the power of the perceiving power of their mind, the faith, and the linking it with imagination. And they did everything they could to create a flying machine, okay? And that first flight lasted, I don't remember, like 17 seconds, something like that. That first flight was 17 seconds that plane was off the ground. Before that, everybody was telling them they were crazy. They were out of their mind. They had all these naysayers pushing their dream back because they didn't see it. They didn't believe in it, the naysayers. But the Wright brothers believed. They hung on to that dream and that vision. People told them, hey, if God wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings. What are you, crazy? Never going to happen. They didn't let that deter them. They kept at it, and they kept at it, and they moved forward. When that plane lifted off the ground for 17 seconds, now, it doesn't seem like a long time, but to lift a plane for the first time off the ground, 17 seconds is a long time. They didn't, at the end of it, go, oh man, only lasted 17 seconds. They celebrated. Wow! It was in the air for 17 seconds! That's awesome! And then they focused on, what did we do right? What did we do right that helped that plane get off the ground for 17 seconds? Let's do more of that. Instead of looking at all the time that the plane wasn't in the air. Focus on what's going right and do more of that. You know, when I look in the Bible, there are so many stories of leaps of faith to inspire us and help lead us to grow in our own faith. One of my favorites is Peter, the disciple Peter. In the Gospel of Matthew, it says that Jesus had been teaching, and he sent the disciples off in a boat out on the lake. And he kind of got the crowds to disperse, and he went up on a high mountain to pray. And nightfall came, and he came walking across the water towards the boat. And the disciples saw something coming, and they were freaking out. Oh my God, it's a ghost, what is it? Oh! And Jesus said, fear not, it is I. And Peter said, if it's you, then can I come? Walk on the water? And Jesus said, come. And Peter steps out of the boat. He's taking a leap of faith. He's stepping out of his comfort zone. And he starts walking on the water. And then the wind stirs up. He gets a little distracted and he gets a little fearful. And what happens? He starts to sink. Yep. You ever get that sinking feeling? Yep. He starts to sink and he cries out, help me. And Jesus reaches out his hand and pulls him up and he says, why did you doubt? Ye of little faith, why did you doubt? You were doing it. You were walking on the water. Why did you doubt? That story reminds me that Peter represents faith. He's the disciple that represents faith. But in that story, he represents the beginning foundations of faith. Those times where we step out in faith and we start to do it and then we fall. Or we fall back into, It's like that woman, the first time she came to Dream Builder Live. She could only handle one day, and she had to leave. But she came back, and she did it again, and she did it the third time. And now it was like, I'm here on the third day. I'm so excited, and it's making sense. So Peter represents that beginning development of faith. He was beginning to develop that faith muscle. But it wasn't strong enough and anchored enough yet. But he did walk on the water. There's another story in the Bible, in Mark, it's in Luke as well, about a woman. And she has been internally bleeding for 12 years. And back in those days, the customs and things and the laws were, if you were bleeding, you were considered unclean. And you were kind of shunned from society because if you weren't really allowed to be out in the marketplace or out in the common places, because if you accidentally touched somebody or rubbed up against somebody, if you touched them, or anything that you touched some fruit in the market or something, it was then considered unclean. If you rubbed up against a person, they were considered unclean. So the law was that if you were unclean and you were out in the marketplace, and you touched someone, you could possibly be stoned to death for that. So here's this woman. She's been bleeding for 12 years. She's been to numerous doctors. She's spent all that she had to try and get healing, and nothing has worked. And she hears that this man Jesus is coming to town, and he works miracles. And through her building of her faith over those 12 years, she gets the divine idea, if I can just touch him, I will be healed. She knows it without a shadow of a doubt. And she passes through the fear of, if I get caught, they will kill me. And there's crowds of people around Jesus, right? And the streets in Capernaum were narrow. So these crowds of people, they call it throngs. Throngs means everybody's pressed in together and kind of, kind of like at the stadium when the game's over and everybody's trying to get out. You're all like this, So here's Jesus with all his disciples around him and all these people, and they're all pressed in together. And this woman has such courage and such strength in her faith muscle that she's elbowing her way in behind him, sneaking up behind, kind of elbowing in through the crowd, and she reaches out. There's her leap of faith. She reaches out, and she just gets the hem of Jesus' garment. And immediately she feels it. She is healed. And Jesus stops. And he goes, who touched me? And the disciples are like, seriously? Come on, man. Everybody's touching you. We're in this crowd. What do you mean? He goes, no. Someone touched me. I felt the power. And he turned around and he's looking, and he spots this woman. And he can see from her face this radiant glow, and also this look of, it was me. So she confesses what she did. And he says, sister, it is your faith that has made you well. Go in peace. She was at such a high level of consciousness in her faith that when she touched the hem of Jesus' garment, he felt that connection. Someone of high consciousness has touched me, and I need to stop. I need to recognize them and connect with them because they know, in the place in them that knows, that God is everywhere, ready to help them take a leap of faith anytime, anywhere, any place. So what is that leap of faith in you calling you out to do? You don't have to be afraid. Demonstrate your faith muscle. Step out of your comfort zone, even if it's scary. If it's not scary, you're not stretching. I'll just be honest. If it's not scary, you're not stretching. You're still in your comfort zone, Listen to that still small voice within you that's calling you to take a leap of faith. There's a saying that says, and this is like an old camera joke, fear is the dark room where our negatives are developed. Fear is the dark room where our negatives are developed. So I invite you, when you connect with that within you that's calling you to take a leap of faith, to take into consideration some action you can take. Take some type of action, even if it's just a small thing. Take some type of action in the direction of that dream, of that goal. Because as you do, the universe will say, she's ready or he's ready. And the universe will take a giant leap on your behalf. And doors will open and opportunities will show up that you couldn't see from back here in your comfort zone. But even just taking a little step. Maybe it's, maybe I should call so-and-so because she works in the industry that I'm looking to get into. It's a little step. It's not that scary. Take the little step. And the universe will take a giant leap on your behalf. God is good. All the time. And all the time. God is good. God is good. I wanted to, I have a clip I wanted to show you. Before we put it on, I'm going to give you a chance to get it set up there. I want to mention, it is from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And in this clip, I'll just give you a little background if you haven't seen it before. Indiana Jones's father has been shot, and Indiana Jones has to go through these 3 different trials to get to the Holy Grail and get the living water and get it back to his dad to save his father's life. Yeah. And so he's at the I think he's at the second trial, or the third trial. He comes up to this cliff edge, and he looks down, and he can't even see the bottom of the abyss. It's just blackness. It's so deep you can't see the bottom. And there appears to be no way across. And so he's like here, and the entrance is probably back there, the end of the sanctuary there. And the little book that he has that gives him the code says, take a leap of faith from the lion's head to prove one's worth. And there's a lion's head carved into the stone right there. And he looks at it and he's like, the doubt comes up. And he says, impossible. Nobody can jump that. Nobody. And he looks at his book again and he's like, oh, geez, it's a leap of faith. And when he stands there, I want you to watch this, because you literally watch him go from fear to his heart is pumping, he's sweating, his veins are pulsating, his breathing is shallow. You see the fear in him, and he transforms it into faith. And you see the breath. And he knows now that he needs to take that leap of faith. And he lifts up his foot and he goes for it. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and show the clip. Okay, do we have sound? Okay, there's the lion's head. He's looking at the book again. Wait a minute. Got to take a leap of faith from the lion's head to prove one's worth. And so here he is on this cliff. There's his dad. They're yelling, hurry, Indy, hurry. And dad needs that water to save his life. So he's just like, oh, geez, it's a leap of faith. Oh, come on, man, geez. And his father's trying to send him messages. You gotta believe, you gotta believe. So here's the fear. Oh my God, oh my gosh, okay. I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna take that faith. Okay, transforming it into faith. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And there's something solid to stand on that he could not see before. There is a stone ledge that goes across that matches perfectly with the stone cliffs across. But he could not see it from where he stood. He had to take a leap of faith. And when you take a leap of faith, and there's the thank you, God moment. When you take that leap of faith and you're not falling through the ravine, and he gets there and he's like, thank you, God. I love that scene because it shows that transformation of fear into faith. In that thank you, God moment. There's an old quote that says, when you come to the edge of all that you know, like you're on a cliff, and you know that you need to take that leap of faith and step out into the unknown, do so with faith, knowing that as you take that step, one of two things will happen. There will either be something solid to stand on, or you will learn how to fly. So I invite you to take that into your own prayer time. Connect with that divine presence in you and transform that fear that's holding you back into faith. And with God, take a leap of faith. Namaste. I'm going to invite the prayer chaplains to please stand and hold the sacred space for us. We appreciate you and all that you do.